He just looked like a dad.
He would cut up Adderall.
He'd keep us awake for long periods of time.
No! Stop it! I love you!
I had a lot of theories, but none of them were as horrible as what was actually to come.
And you poisoned me?
Yes.
You said?
Yes.
And where'd you put it?
I put it in your food. I put it on your back. I put it in your shoes.
It is a shocking story. A man accused of brainwashing his daughter's classmates.
We're learning more about the dad who allegedly recruited his daughter's college classmates into a cult. As bizarre as it sounds, the now 60-year-old suspect moved into his daughter's dorm room. It's one of the most expensive schools in America.
The guy is a danger to society. He belongs to be in prison for the rest of his life.
When Ray was arrested at this house in New Jersey, 2 of his daughter's ex-classmates were still living with him.
I think he will go down in history as one of the greatest con men that ever lived.
The conduct alleged here is outrageous. It makes you angry. If you're not angry, you don't have a soul.
First of all, sorry for where I'm looking. I'm recording this on my phone. I know the audio sucks. My audio isn't the best to begin with. It's especially shitty today. So please bear with me. I'm sorry, but the information is going to be there. Okay, whatever. Shut up. The whole thing started in September of 2010. Larry Ray was coming out of prison. We're going to talk about his prison sentence and stuff later. But he was getting out of prison and he wanted a place to stay. So he tells his daughter, Talia, that he wants to crash with her in her dorm. Now, her dorm is in this very expensive college just north of New York called Sloanham. Sorry, not Sloanham. That's the name of the dorms. It's called Sarah Lawrence College. And the dorms are called Sloanham Woods 9. They're like a 2-story dorm in the middle of the campus, essentially. And he tells her, hey, I just want to crash with you for a little bit until I get back on my feet. She says, okay, now Talia, his daughter, she was telling everyone before he even got released from prison, her friends, the roommates, everyone, that her father is a hero and he's in prison because of this government conspiracy to take him down. He's fighting corruption. He knows all these things and he's like a CIA agent and he's her hero. And it's like so messed up what happened to him. And so they already had been hearing good things about him and all this. So when she tells her roommates like, hey, my dad's going to come crash with us for a little bit, they were okay with it. They were okay with it. They had kind of been primed to be okay with it. He gets an air mattress and he puts it in the common area of the dorm. And he is cooking for them. He is cleaning. He's cooking them steak dinners. He's spending money getting them expensive food delivery items. He had this GoDaddy domain business where he bought up thousands and thousands of domains for cheap. And then when people wanted those domains, he would sell it to them for a profit. So that was kind of how he was making money. And he was using this money to impress the roommates. He was also buying them expensive clothes and shoes, taking them out. He got this limousine with a driver and he would pick them up and drop them off wherever they needed to go. So soon they really liked Larry. But also he was telling them stories about himself, how he was like the CIA agent, this ex-Marine, how he was involved in like these huge operations and saved lives and talked about like honor and justice and truth. And he was, bigging himself up, if you will, but then he was also very charming in the sense that he was always listening to them. They said he was a good listener. They said that he would ask questions about them, express interest in the things that they were interested in, offer them guidance, and become like a father figure. So he's like spending money on them. He's making himself seem really important, and then he's showing interest in them. So they were all swept away and charmed by Larry, but not all of them. There was one person, Claudia. Now, Claudia, interestingly enough, she would end up playing a huge part in this cult. And what she went through was absolutely insane. But in the beginning, she thought Larry's relationship with his daughter, Talia, was weird. And she didn't like it. She was weirded out by the whole thing. But then she does like this one-on-one session with Larry a couple times. And everything changes for her. She also says that he diagnosed her with schizophrenia, even though he's not qualified to make that diagnosis. But she ends up being like, no, Larry's great and everything like that. And so Larry then stops just becoming like this father figure person that they talk to, but now he's like teaching them, right? He has these like therapy sessions, this program that he's teaching them called Q4P, or Quest for Potential. These therapy sessions was basically Larry taking these students, putting them in the hot seat and asking them questions for hours and hours and hours until they somehow, some way would admit to him like a childhood trauma, and he would weaponize that childhood trauma against them. And the way he would choose who would be in the hot seat for this therapy session is if they did something that upset him, and it was something minor, like they broke a plate or scratched a pot. The other roommate that played a huge part in this cult is Isabella Pollock. Now, she would later be charged as a co-conspirator, and there was like a hierarchy, and she was up there. But at first, Larry showed interest in her when she was going through this really bad breakup with her boyfriend. And he was being really weird about it. Like, he was sitting there in the bed, like her bed, with her, stroking her hair, being like, no one's going to hurt my baby girl. And then he remember how he was sleeping in the common room? Well, he then goes and starts sleeping in Isabella's bed. Then it was time for a winter break, and the students were going to go back to see their family. And all of a sudden, Larry calls Isabella's parents and tells them Isabella is not coming to see you guys for the holidays because she was SA'd by a family friend when she was a child. And you let this happen to her. And if she comes back to visit you guys for the holidays, she's going to end her life. And we just can't let that happen. Instead, they all leave the dorms and they go to this apartment in New York on 93rd Street. This apartment's going to play a huge role in this cult. It's Isabella, Larry, Larry's daughter Talia, and Talia's boyfriend, the one I told you about. So 4 of them are in this 1-bedroom apartment in New York. Larry and Isabella are sleeping in the bedroom, and Talia, the daughter, and her boyfriend are sleeping in the living room. And according to the boyfriend, this whole living situation was so horrible that by the end of the winter break, he ends up leaving and never coming back because he said Larry controlled every single aspect of their life. What they ate, what they did, when they slept, how long they slept, everything. Larry also told him to stop taking his antipsychotic medications, which he did. And then he said things got crazy and disturbing and he ended up leaving. Now it's the end of winter break and they go back to the dorms for the spring semester. And now it's Talia, the daughter, with her dad, Larry, Isabella, and Claudia, and another person called Daniel, and I think Santos as well. Claudia's parents, they start noticing a shift. Something is weird about Claudia, like she's not acting the same. And they talk to her about it and they end up finding out that Larry, her roommate's father, has moved into the dorms and is influencing their life. And they're noticing this shift in this daughter. So they go to the dean of students. His name is Alan Green. And they tell the dean, like, one of the students' fathers is in the dorms and he's like controlling them, and this is against policy. Like, how we need to do something about this. They say that the dean told them that his hands were tied, that they can't prevent a father from visiting their child on campus. The college, Sarah Lawrence College, they issued a statement saying that they did an investigation and they didn't find anything to corroborate this information at the time, and that they never found any evidence that Larry was actually living in the dorms. According to everyone else, he was. So I don't know how that happened, but it did. The thing is, by the end of that semester, Larry decides he's moving back to that apartment on 93rd in New York. Now that apartment is his friend's apartment. Lee Chen is his friend's name. And he's like paying him to stay in the apartment. And he has the students move from the dorms to the apartments. And once they get to this apartment away from campus, things get crazier. This is when they become a cult, like legit cult, because Larry is now in control of everything. And he's giving them this rigorous like routine. There's like a cult morning routine where every morning he's blasting music, this song called Baba O'Reilly by The Who. Early in the morning, waking them up. And every day they had these house meetings and family dinners where he would grill them and put them on the hot seat and make them confess these traumas and get mad at them.
You victimize somebody, and then you sit there and cry for yourself. I didn't want to. But do you realize what you're doing? She's not even hearing this. Do you believe this?
So I want to talk about the members, and one in particular who was his first victim, and some people blame Larry for his death. So I told you about Talia. Talia is his daughter. Then there's Isabella. Isabella is the one that he was sleeping in the same room with. Then there was Claudia, the one that he diagnosed with schizophrenia. Then there was Daniel. Daniel was struggling with his sexuality, and Larry was always telling him, "You're not gay. You're not gay. I can tell you're not gay." And this would become a recurring theme, and something awful is going to happen regarding that, which was the final straw for Daniel. We'll get into that. Then there's Santos. Now, Santos struggled with depression, had already attempted suicide when he was in high school, and was just very fragile. And then there was Ivan. Now, Ivan is the one that I told you was Larry's first victim, because he was his daughter Talia's boyfriend in high school. At this point, he's her ex-boyfriend, but he's still in contact with Larry and Talia and stuff, even though they broke up. Now, when he was in high school, Larry took him in and kind of became his mentor, and he told him to join the Marines. He ends up getting deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq, and he has a horrible experience there. People he knows dies. He sees all these messed up things. When he comes back to the States, he's diagnosed with severe PTSD. He gets in contact with Larry. Now, Larry is against like the traditional treatments and medical things, and he's the expert. He knows all these things. And Ivan, even though Ivan isn't living with them in this apartment full time, he visits often and he spends the night a lot. Larry was treating Ivan so bad. He would like wake him up in the middle of the night and scream, "You're dying, you're dying, you're dying," like crazy things like that. Hit him. Then he's made him his personal driver, and he would rent vehicles and things in Ivan's name, not pay them. At one point, he got arrested and had to do some jail time for stealing a vehicle because he didn't know that it was in his name, and they didn't return it, and so it was like declared stolen. But he was so fiercely loyal to Larry. He called him Uncle Larry. So I just want to tell you how Ivan ended up dying, and you decide if Larry's responsible for it. So he ends up getting hospitalized for erratic behavior and paranoia as a result of his PTSD and the abuse that he suffered at the hands of Larry. And they tell him that he technically can leave if he wants to, but they don't recommend him leaving. He needs more treatment. He ends up leaving, and shortly after he leaves, he ends up taking his life. Now, his friends and family who were visiting him at the hospital were shocked when they went to visit him one day and they found that he had left the hospital. And so they're asking the staff, like, why did he leave? Like, he's not supposed to leave. What happened? And they tell him that he was visited by an Uncle Larry, and that's the person who convinced him to leave. And then shortly after he left, he took his own life. So these friends and family, they believe Larry is either directly or indirectly responsible for him taking his life. But of course, this is not something that he was charged with. Oh, by the way, this is the thing that's crazy. Larry would brag about how many suicide attempts his followers made. They were 12 suicide attempts between them all, like as if he was proud about it, which is why some people feel like he drove them to it. And there's even a video of one of his followers where he's almost trying to convince her that she wants to end her life. And when there's one point where she goes, "No, I don't want to do it," and he's like, "I don't know, you don't seem so sure about it."
I don't want to.
What?
I don't want to hurt myself.
I don't know. Why was it so difficult to say that? Is that accurate? Are you being honest? If you are, say you are. If you're not, you're not. But don't say you are. If you're not, don't take being honest or not lightly. It won't be helpful to you.
No, I have no idea. I still wanna.
And the thing is, he would take a lot of Adderall, like he would abuse it. And so he would stay up for days. And then on the flip side, he would sleep deprive his followers, and they always look tired. Some of them look drugged, like I don't know if they were sedated or sleep deprived or both, but they were always tired and he was always energetic. So there's always this dynamic, and he was exhausting. He would ask them questions over and over again, to the point where some of these followers said they made up traumas that didn't happen to them, experiences that did not happen to them, just so the questioning would stop. And then it went from the trauma questioning and blaming them for breaking stuff to now he decided he wanted to teach them about sex. Okay? You knew this was coming. Here's when the shit gets even weirder. So he would start out by instructing the students to sleep with each other. Like Isabella, the one that he was sleeping in the room with and stuff, he would tell her to go to the male members of the cult and sleep with them. First, he did it with Daniel, because remember, Daniel was the one struggling with his sexuality. He would tell Isabella to go kiss him and this and that and have sex with him. Then he would watch. Then sometimes he would participate, and he would say that his presence was there to usher them on the journey to clarity, because Daniel needed clarity on his sexuality, because Larry knew that he wasn't gay, and he just had to usher him to the understanding that he was straight. And then he would do that with the other members. He would have Isabella sleep with Santos and watch as well. So remember Lee Chen, the one I told you, Larry's friend who owned the apartment that they were staying in? Okay, so there's this one incident, according to Daniel, where Larry invites Lee to come and join a session with Isabella and Daniel. And according to Daniel, there was no consent in the situation. It just kind of happened. So there's some insane footage of what Larry does to Daniel, just so you can understand the pressure that Daniel was under.
Stick it out. Stick the fucking out. Like next is going to be the head of your cock. Do you understand? See this how it feels? What if I pick you up like that? Can I pick you up by your tongue? Huh? Do you think I'm playing with you? Huh? Huh? You're a grown man. I'm a grown man. I don't like what you did. You hear me? Now one more time, and I'm going to split your tongue in half. Do you understand me?
No. Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
You doubting me, Danny?
No.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes.
Doubting me? Still?
No, I know that.
Huh?
I know that you're with me. Oh.
Want to doubt me more?
No.
Huh?
No.
I'll bust your face right here. I won't wait till I get downstairs.
No.
Take it to the bank. You and I are fighting it out tonight.
Okay.
Man to man. You can even have the hammer. I told you, beat me with it.
Then, just so that you know the type of control that Larry had on these students, there was one time when Claudia and Daniel were going to study abroad in England. And Claudia, before she went to the study abroad program, she sends an email to the dean, that same dean of students, Alan Green. She sends an email to him titled The Truth. And in this email, she says, quote, that Larry Ray is a bad, dangerous, manipulative, and sexually deviant man. But then Claudia takes it all back, and she says that Larry's ex-wife tricked her into sending that email. Larry had such a grip on Claudia and Daniel that when they went to the study abroad program in England, he ends up telling them that he needs to hold a family meeting. They both need to attend together on Skype. And during that Skype session, he coaches them through sex while he watched. And they did it, even though they were so far away, like there was nothing physically forcing them to do this, yet they did it, okay? And then when that study abroad program was over, they come back and they're still part of the cult. Claudia moves out of the apartment. Like, she doesn't live in the apartment. She stays in the dorm. But Daniel goes back and stays in the apartment. It doesn't last long, though, because eventually something happens that causes Daniel to leave the group. He confides in Larry one day, and he tells Larry, I'm still struggling with my sexuality. And Larry goes ballistic. He's like, I've had enough of this. He goes, Isabella, go get one of your dresses. She comes back with a dress. He tells Daniel to wear the dress. Daniel wears the dress. He tells him to go downstairs in the lobby of the apartment where the mail room is and to go check the mail with the dress on. Daniel does that. He comes back. Brace yourself. When Daniel comes back to the apartment, Larry has a dildo, and he gives it to Daniel in front of all the other members, and he tells him to penetrate himself, which Daniel does, and they all are laughing at him. And according to Daniel, Daniel's the one who told the story. Daniel says, quote, I was horrified and scared and crying. So even though he did it, this was the last straw for him. Soon after, he leaves the apartment. He stops answering their calls, their emails, and he just has nothing to do with them ever again. Around the same time that Daniel is leaving, remember Santos, the other member that I told you struggled with depression, had already attempted suicide in high school? He introduces his two sisters to Larry, and they become part of the cult. Okay, and this is a mind-blowing situation because these are his two older sisters, Yalitza, and the eldest is Felicia. They're both highly educated, which goes to show you there's book smarts and there's street smarts, and then there's mental illness. Yalitza had gotten her undergrad degree from Columbia. Felicia went to Harvard for undergrad, and she had a medical degree from Columbia, and she was about to do her residency in Los Angeles. She was about to be a doctor, and as soon as she starts talking to Larry, and he's calling her all the time and stuff, she drops out of the residency thing and goes and lives with them in the apartment and basically loses her mind.
I want to go to the bed. All right, please, come on. Come here. Listen. You gotta sit down on the floor.
I don't want to sit.
Alicia, lay down. I'm not leaving.
Get off, please.
I don't want to hurt you. I need to restrain you. You're going to hurt yourself or hurt me or hurt someone else. Okay, but I need you to calm down. 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 Okay.
Please help me.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Please help me. Please. Please help me. Please help me. No. Call them and tell them not to take me, please. I don't want any more trouble for myself. I just want to be able to go back to work and be fine and happy. Please, Larry, don't do this. Don't do this to me.
Come on.
No, I don't want to live here. I don't want to live here.
You'll be okay. Come on.
Please stop, Felicia. Please stop. Please stop trying to attack me. Please stop.
I got it on video. I'm watching. Why are we doing that?
So I'm going back to bed. Goodbye, guys.
Why are we doing
Good
that?
night.
Why are we doing that?
I hear a pill bottle opening and closing.
Spit him?
It's too late. I took Adderall.
How many?
Just a half pill.
Why did you take my medication? Come on.
I wanted to take. I want to go.
Do not leave this room now. You went to the bathroom and washed your face.
I want to go change my clothes. Like, I don't want to be in here. So excuse me.
Do not leave it. Do not leave the room, Felicia. You're in danger to yourself and others,
I'm
clearly.
Not. Excuse me.
Do not leave the room.
Excuse me.
Do not leave the room.
I gotta get.
Do not try and initiate physical contact.
I'm not trying to initiate.
Yes, you are.
I'll go around you then. Please, just leave me alone for a little bit.
No.
Please.
Stop.
What's the
You're
problem?
unstable and you're violent. Stop.
I'm not unstable. I'm not violent.
You just assaulted me.
I wasn't trying.
You are behaving like a criminal right now.
I just want to be alone right now. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I just want to be alone. Leave me alone.
Get out in the hall, fella. You can't take it. You want to behave so atrociously. You want to behave so criminally destructive. And you've been trying to harm me. No one has even gotten to eat one meal today. None of us have eaten one single meal today because this is what's going on all day.
Okay, stop, Larry. Stop. I want to stop. I just want to get better.
Well, then the simple answer is stop feeling bad.
Okay.
Then stop now. Let's see you stop on video. Can you?
Okay, yes.
So stop it. Okay, end video. Stop hurting me!
Let's go inside the house, Larry.
Stop it.
Let's go inside the house. I got it together now, Larry.
You realize that you've assaulted and hurt Yalitza, your sister, and Isabella?
Yes.
Why did you hurt them?
Because I was angry. Okay, fine. You know what? I know I fucked up all day, but that doesn't mean I need to go anywhere.
Why do you pinch yourself?
Because I'm angry. I don't know what happened to me.
Who are you?
I'm still me. I'm still me. I'm still the one that you met a long time ago. The woman you.
Who destroyed everything I had? Who yells and screams? Who caused the neighbors to sign complaints against you for weeks? Why are you doing this to other people, Felicia?
Because I've been angry. Please, Larry.
But okay, you say because you've been angry, so that's what makes it okay to do to other people?
Larry, please don't send me away. I love you, and I want to stay with you always and forever. Please, let's go inside the house. I want my phone. I want my life back together. I want to call Unjum, and I want to call Emily.
I'm afraid of you. Stop it.
You're not afraid of me. Let's go inside the house.
I'm now afraid of you.
Give me the phone.
No, don't give it to her.
Give me the
Don't
phone.
let her touch her.
Give me the phone, Isabella.
No.
I want to call her.
Please stop trying to attack
I'm
me.
gonna call her and deal with her directly.
No.
Hello, Marisa. Hello, Marisa. 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 Marisa.
Give them a chance to answer.
Hello. Let's go inside the house and talk. I don't want to do it in the fucking garage.
Listen to me. Back up, lady. Lady, back up. Back up. Don't violate my space again. Back up, I said. Don't violate my space. Deal with your phone call.
Hello. Hello. Can we go inside the house?
Felicia, focus on talking to her.
Hello.
That you're angry at.
Hello.
Because she doesn't want to. See? She wants to protect her.
Some of the craziest footage that you will find is of Felicia. With Daniel gone, Larry's abuse of Santos is insane. He knew that Santos struggled with suicidal thoughts and depression, and he would like open the window to the apartment and be like, jump, jump. And then he would put him in sleeper holds until he passed out. And then when Santos would wake up, he would be like, did the darkness envelop you? Like crazy shit, right? So now he's got this 3 siblings that are all under his spell. And there was this crazy video where he had the brother Santos slap himself anytime Felicia moved or reacted. And the exchange between them, like that footage is bizarre.
a good guy.
I'm done. Sam, I'm fucking done. That's it.
Part of me, I'm like, are they on something? I don't know. And it's like, I think I'm like, is this mental illness or are they on drugs? Or it could be both. With Felicia, same as Larry did with Isabella, he is referring to her as his wife. He referred to both of them as his wife. This underlying thing that's going to set the scene for what he does for money, because he got charged with trafficking, is he would encourage them to sleep with other people and like send him videos and pictures and sleep with strangers and begin this process of controlling their sex lives. Part of what Larry did was make them think they owed him money by telling them they damaged property.
How many things have you damaged in that house?
A lot of things. I've damaged a lot of things in the house.
He would always have them do renovations. And then during the renovations, like major things were damaged that cost tens and $20,000, like insane numbers. And he's keeping, like, there's a running list. So each of these students feel like they owe Larry $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000. Then he would have them do these fake confessions. He would have them confess to poisoning him. This is, oh my God, this part is insane.
Are you making this by your own free will?
Yes.
Anybody pay you?
No.
Anybody threaten you?
No.
Anybody coerce you?
No.
Okay. Okay, so when did you poison last? Let's start with Columbia Hospital. Tell me all about that. You told me about that a minute ago. Let's go.
You were in the hospital
When?
this summer, I think late July or August. I brought poison each time.
What'd you bring?
I brought mercury, cyanide, and arsenic.
And you poisoned me?
Yes.
You said?
Yes.
And where'd you put it?
I put it in your food. I put it on your back. I put it in your shoes.
Claudia.
Yeah.
So you're saying you put mercury on where? On the doorknobs in the hospital?
Yeah.
My name is Felicia Rosario, and the statements that I'm going to make are my own free will. The time is 4:35 p.m.
And you're doing this of your own free will?
Yes.
Nobody has coerced you?
No.
Threatened you?
No.
Drugged you?
No.
And nobody's threatening you now?
Not right now. My father made a deal to have me sabotage Larry and steal from him and try to poison him. He made a deal with some people that I don't know to have me come and do this and hurt you.
When did this happen?
He started talking about it in November
Of
2011.
I've informed you that I'm going to turn this over and others
No,
to law
please.
enforcement authorities.
Please, Larry.
And
Larry,
that's the end
please.
of that.
No, hold on, please.
We're finished.
He was constantly saying that he was poisoned. Even Talia, when she was a kid, like schoolmates of hers and from second grade remember her talking about how her dad was being poisoned. So Larry always felt like he's being poisoned. So now he's getting the students to admit on camera that they're poisoning him. Mercury on the handles of this, and mercury in your food, and mercury and all these like heavy metals, and we're poisoning you, and it's part of this government conspiracy to take you down because you're fighting for truth and justice. And so now they're being blackmailed, right? He's telling them, you owe me money for property of mine that you've damaged, a lot of money that they can't afford. If I release this footage and I tell the police that you damaged my property and you're poisoning me, you're going to jail. You need to get some money and pay me. And how do they pay him back? Well, this is where the trafficking comes into play. It starts with Claudia. Claudia thinks she owes him like over $50,000. And he's got her on camera confessing to poisoning him. So he starts by telling her to sleep with random people. He's like, has her sleep with a taxi cab driver, some random person in Central Park. Then he tells Claudia to get a job at a sex club. It was like a BDSM sex club. And he starts asking her for pictures of her bruises and doing the violent things with her and kind of getting her used to that. Then eventually he tells her she should start escorting, become a prostitute, so she could pay him back for the money that she owes him, or else he's going to release that footage of her saying she's poisoning him. She's going to go to jail. So she ends up basically prostituting and giving him all the money. Okay, when this went to trial, according to the prosecution, over the years of how much she was doing this for him, and she was charging like $2,000 to $8,000 per session, and she was seeing several people every day, 7 days a week. So she ends up giving him $2.5 million worth of this prostitution money that she just hands over to him for things she did not damage and money she did not owe, and she was not poisoning him. Like, they found no proof of the poisoning. This is how he operated until this huge expose happened. This article comes out in New York Magazine. This was in early 2019. Basically, the members who left, there were rumblings going around that this guy, Larry, was running a cult, and it was all college students, and it was this deviant like sex cult, and it was abuse and all this crazy shit. The police began their investigation based on what was in this article. This article really sheds a different light on the whole thing, because it gives you his villain origin story, except you don't feel sorry for him. And this guy is a con artist to the core. So he always talked about his military background, how he was this Marine and CIA agent and all these things he did. It turns out all he did was serve 19 days in the Air Force, and he was dishonorably discharged. But actually, what he was a double agent for the mob. Okay, crazy story. So this is all connected. Okay, hear me out. So he ends up meeting this guy, and this person changes the trajectory of Larry's life and is still being mentioned in the cult and this whole thing. And that is Bernard Carrick, aka Bernie. Bernie used to be Mayor Rudy Giuliani's driver, but then he was appointed to be the director of the New York City Department of Corrections Investigation Division. Okay, totally random. But Larry and Bernie, they become really close. Like, Larry is the best man at Bernie's wedding, and there's all these emails between them where Bernie signs the emails to Larry, Love B, and they talk about how they would do anything for each other, and they had this really deep relationship. But what ends up happening is Larry feels betrayed by Bernie, because Bernie introduces him to the FBI, some FBI agent. And Larry tells this FBI agent, I want to be an informant. I can be an informant because I have connections with the mafia. Let me be an informant for you. But actually, he's a double agent. So Larry's actually spying. This is like out of a movie. Larry's actually spying on the FBI for the mafia. Long story short, okay, the feds find out that he's a double agent. Shorten it even more, because I could go on for forever. He ends up going to trial. They charge him. He's going to trial for this shit. And he sends this desperate email to Bernie. Bernie is now commissioner of the NYPD. So Larry sends Bernie this desperate email, and he tells him, please be there for me. Larry is basically begging Bernie to put in a good word for him at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Like, please help me out here. Bernie sends Larry an email, and he says, You know I would do anything for you, but my hands are tied. I can't do that for you. I hope you understand. Now, this is when Larry feels betrayed by Bernie. This changes everything for Larry. Larry ends up going to trial. He's found guilty. He has to serve prison time. But what does he do? He tries to get revenge, and he does get revenge. He ends up snitching on Bernie because he knows some dirt on Bernie about how he misappropriated funds, and it turns into this whole thing where Bernie now ends up having to do jail time because Larry snitched on him. So they go from best friends to enemies. Around the time that this is happening, Larry's life is also falling apart. His wife is trying to divorce him, and he blames Bernie for all of it. This is when his daughter, Talia, comes into play. Remember, his daughter's his loyal soldier. Everyone calls her his soldier. She's the one who he moved into the dorm room with, and some people say she perpetrated some of the abuse that happened in the cult. Larry convinces Talia and her younger sister to claim that their mom abused them. They end up giving him temporary custody. Child services come in to do an investigation. During this investigation, they find out that Larry coached the daughters, there is no abuse, and they also do a psychiatric evaluation on Larry. And this is what's interesting because I think this will give us an idea as to how he was able to control all these college students. Because according to the psych evaluation, I want to read you some quotes from it. They said that he was literally impossible to evaluate because he is able to manipulate and control almost any situation in which he finds himself, including a psychological interview with a forensic examiner, no matter how experienced that examiner may be. Mr. Ray is very good at what he does. They said that he can be utterly charming and one can be disarmed by his childlike simplicity and smile. But Mr. Ray is no child. He is a vindictive, calculating, I just added vindictive out of my imagination. He is a calculating, manipulative, and hostile man. So as a result of this investigation, they end up giving the mom custody of the kids and they order him to surrender the kids to the mom. He disobeys this order. And this results in him getting arrested. And then there's like this domestic thing that happens when he gets out of prison that violates the probation from the federal case where he was a double agent. And well, long story short, this is why he was serving time in prison. And now we're back to 2010 when he gets out of prison. And he tells his daughter, Talia, can I come stay with you at the dorms? Now keep in mind, Talia is so loyal to her dad, Larry, and so believing what he told her that when she was supposed to go stay with her mom, when they ordered him to surrender custody and he got arrested, she stayed at a youth shelter rather than stay with her mom. Okay? And she was telling everyone that this was the conspiracy from Bernie. Like Bernie, when he was getting arrested, she was in an apartment with him. And the federal marshal remembers that while he was arresting Bernie, the daughter Talia was screaming, police corruption, police corruption. This is because of Mayor Rudy Giuliani and Bernard Kerik. Like she full on believes in this conspiracy. So the reason why I gave you this whole backstory is because once he's running this cult, everyone, all these students are told this story of Bernie and how Bernie's out to get him and how he knows secrets about 9/11 and that's why Rudy Giuliani is out to get him too. And he's trying to get the truth out and justice and honor and they're all corrupt and that's why he was in jail. And somehow, some way, he gets them to admit that they are being contacted by Bernie and paid by Bernie to poison him. And they say that. Freaking bizarre. We get to the point in 2019 where an article is written about everything that I just told you. An investigation begins and they find that this is all true, that he did this to all these people. And Claudia is working with the police because this incident happened which made Claudia leave the cult, where she was working as an escort and they were upset with her because she was getting too close to one of her clients and they felt like she wasn't working enough. And Isabella and Larry go to the hotel she's staying at, barge into her room, handcuff her to a chair, put a plastic bag over her head, suffocate her until she almost dies, and then they take the plastic bag off and they question her. She confides in someone about what happened. They give her money. She just escapes. And when this investigation is going on, based on this article, Larry is now only with his daughter, Isabella, and Felicia. Those are the only people left in the cult, and they arrest Larry.
As alleged, the indictment that we unsealed earlier today, Ray ensnared many of his victims while they were teenagers.
Once they arrest Larry, it's time for the trial. And the antics in the trial, okay, he was still trying to manipulate the situation till the very end. Remember, he claimed he was being poisoned all the time. So he would have these seizures that seemed to be fake seizures because they never really could find an underlying medical condition or anything. And the way he would do them, there's even this picture of him outside where some people think he was faking the seizure. And he would have these seizures during the trial when these ex-cult members were testifying about some of the worst things he did to them. He would conveniently have a seizure and they would have to adjourn the court, and it would happen in front of the jury, and the judge would have to tell the jury, don't factor this into anything. The jury, okay, didn't fall for it because it only took them 4 hours to come back guilty verdict on all charges. Oh, and did I tell you the charges? Oh, yeah, sorry. There's 17 charges, including, okay, conspiracy, trafficking, extortion, all types of abuse. Okay, the list goes on and on. Even though they considered Talia, his daughter, a co-conspirator, they did not charge her. They did talk about how she was higher up in the hierarchy and she participated in some of the things that her dad did, but they kind of saw her as a victim because she was his daughter and under his spell for years and all this. So they didn't charge her. They did, however, charge Isabella. They charged her with a single count of money laundering, conspiracy, and she faces a maximum of 5 years in prison, and she took a plea deal. As for Larry, his sentence is minimum 15 and he could get a life sentence if they want to give him that. Now, according to this article I found, he's going to be sentenced January 20th of this year, so soon-ish, and it says February 22 is the sentencing for Isabella. So we'll see what they get. I think everyone thinks he's going to get life or close to life. We'll see. So shit is crazy. But anyway, that is what I have for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. And thank you. Again, I cannot believe that I have 100,000 subscribers. Like, just thinking about that many people in one area, it just blows my mind. Like, what the fuck? So I want to thank you guys so much. And I know this video wasn't the best, you know, production value quality, but I hope the information is there, and I'm gonna try to do my best with editing it and shut up, stop talking. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.